Hey everybody, I'm Christopher Green. You're tuning into AMTV, Alternative Media Television. Please click the link below to support our sponsor, Powerful Signal. That's powerfulsignal.com. Check them out right now. Get a booster for your cell phone. Click the link below. In my opinion, in the next few years, by the time we reach 2020, in the not too distant future, implantable RFID chips will no longer be optional. And what I mean by that is that in order to interact and participate in the world, the new technological world, in a meaningful way, you'll have to be chipped. You'll have to take the mark. Largely, we can argue you're already carrying the RFID chip via your cell phone. And most of the mass of humanity is doing it by choice. And that's what's amazing about man. We've literally accepted our own enslavement. There's a very interesting book by futurist and transhumanist Ray Kurzweil, who was recently hired by Google as a part of their team that is working on all these types of chips. Whether or not these are neural implants planted into your brain that will give you access to the internet and access to more and more information instead of having to, ask your cell phone, Siri, find XYZ, or call Bob. You'll be able to do it just by thinking with a neural implant. You think about it from a casual use standpoint. If you're walking into an elevator at your building, or let's say you're trying to open a door in your hotel room or start your car, these chips, at least the way they'll be sold to you, will be a huge advantage in seamlessly integrating with your real life. It will also give you transhuman abilities from the perspective that those with the chip, and again, all of you will need it in order to interact in the world in a meaningful way, much like you need a cell phone today. Without it, you really can't interact meaningfully, business or personally. You'd be considered an outcast and probably a homeless person, whacked out on his mind on the street. And I always think about that. I always think about how homeless people actually might be more cognizant of the truth than many of us think. But all of this is reaching a breaking point in the not too distant future, in just a few years. Ray Kurzweil himself says that by 2020, 2025, we will reach a singularity. In his book, which I encourage you to read, The Singularity is Near, he argues that at that point there will be a full merger between technology and the biological human. And those that don't take the chip, don't take the mark, will be a servile, lower rank of society, soon to be extinct. Just like many of these people believe that we started from chimpanzees and worked our way up to, I guess, what they think is self-important today, although in a lot of regards we haven't really come too far. I'm really interested to hear about what you think. Will you take the chip? What will be your option in a society where you will not be able to interact meaningfully without taking it? All of this is spoken prophecy. Many of you that are familiar with your Bible realize that this is all a part of the satanic plan of moving civilization forward. And again, human beings, mostly operating day to day in fear, as fear beings, again, are very accepting of their own enslavement. That's kind of the beauty of it from the standpoint of the New World Order, is that the people actually accept their own slavery. They don't just accept it, they're going to pay for it with the newest, latest gadget. Whether or not it's Google Glass, or it's soon to be the neural implants or the contact lenses that will give you the eyesight of a hawk, and these devices that will gain and give you access to an entirely different world. We're going to get to a point, as Ray Kurzweil says, that the man is going to create a machine that can build another machine. And once the singularity is met, once we hit that crux, machines will actually have a higher AI in intelligence than humans. And at that point, they'll begin to replicate themselves. And again, those without the chip that have not merged in the singularity with these devices and essentially become their own gods will be left dust till dust. This is the evolution of humanity, in their opinion. And they're going to sell you on all the fantastic, great ideas, the fact that they will be able to reverse the aging process, solve mathematical, theoretical, and physical problems in the real world, like curing cancer, etc. They're going to sell all that to you as the selling point, as the reason and the belief that they can become their own gods. That essentially, death will be a choice, according to the words of Ray Kurzweil. You'll be able to, again, reverse engineer, which they're working on right now, the brain, and really reverse engineer the entire human genome. He talks to something that I find very interesting about exponential growth. You know, human beings were reliant on the past. We believe that the past somehow proves future returns, but even in finance we realize that's not necessarily the case. And human beings intuitively view a linear perspective of time, a left to right perspective. Again, this intuitive view that what happened 100 years ago or over the last 20 years is necessarily going to repeat the next 20 years. But that's not what's happening. Whether or not it's Moore's Law or it's the aggressive expansion of computer power, what we're actually seeing is exponential growth. And he argues and points out in his book, The Singularity is Near, that over the past 20 years, we've had over a century, 100 years worth of technological innovation. But once we look at the next 20 years, what we're engaging and entering in now, instead of 100 years of innovation, we're going to have 20,000 years of technological change and innovation in the next 20 years, compared to what we linearly experienced in the past. And that gigantic exponential parabolic move, which will virtually look parabolic, again, is going to create an environment where not only man and machine merge, integrate as part of the Borg, which we largely already a part of, integrate and participate with these neural implants and other devices being really forcefully, psychologically accepted against the will of the American people, even though they think they want these things. We're going to reach a point where, again, the machines take over. And then what does that say about our humanity? What does that say about our biology? And what does that say about the lower rung of society? Again, the rich, the poor, the billionaire, the person that has nothing, all of them will be on the same playing field with the Borg and the singularity itself. And again, the technology, if it's so much smarter than us, if it will be defining the rules, even reasoning better than we, and as Ray Kurzweil argues, we'll be able to create even art in virtual reality environments. And things that Google, for example, are doing right now with their patents don't just involve neural implants and contact lenses that will give you access to Google Glass, but also Google nanobots that will literally live in your bloodstream as red blood cells and will check your molecular structure on a daily basis and kill things like, again, disease and cancer and enhance your body. Again, all of this taking over our humanity. The machine hitting that point of singularity with man, where man is no longer man. Man is the technological machine. You know, all of this sounds great. All of this sounds like a utopia. It sounds beautiful that we could live forever. Maybe to some, not me personally. Sounds like maybe our own hell in the creation of it. But it sounds amazing that we could have this much access to information, that all of the knowledge of humanity could be rolled into one and then quadrupled into infinity at an exponential rate over the next 20 years. People essentially finding the fountain of youth and solving problems and expanding that knowledge into the universe. It sounds amazing. Or are we creating our own hell? Is this our own worst fear? And the thing that continues to be most striking in my mind is that all of this talk, all of this lofty talk of the integration of man and machine and taking the chip, the RFID chip, the mark of the beast, in my opinion, sounds incredibly, incredibly dangerous. And I argue and question, will we even make it through the next few years as we hit the exponential parabolic curve that is the growth rate that will reach 20,000 times the technological growth in a 20-year period of time, as we are soon and living through now, as we are approaching? Will we be even able to survive that kind of magnification forward? These are all very important spiritual, ethical, moral questions that we need to ask as human beings. And we all need to look ourselves in the mirror and ask, will you take the mark? Will you take the chip? Or will you die? I'm Christopher Green. You've been tuning into AMTV Alternative Media Television, hard-hitting and in your face. Get this video out everywhere and click the link below to support our sponsor.